Good morning. Good morning, all. Yes, today is a great day. We can see we have the sun, and we are going to have a great conference. So we want to start with a word of prayer before we have the national anthem for Kenya and for East Africa. So I'll call Dean Lucili to start with a word of prayer. Dean, please.
Good morning, everybody. Let's bow down for a word of prayer. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we come before you because we know you are here, because you have said, where two are assembled, you are there. So we know your presence is here. And Father, you knew we'll be here before you even actually planned for this. So we know everything that actually transpires today will be out of your own blessings. We seek, Father, as we do this, because this is research, we are trying to make knowledge, create knowledge, and we pray that you're going to give us the mind of Jesus, because the Jesus mind is a mind of perfection. But at the end of the day, Father, we are doing this because you are our God and our Savior. You are our power behind everything that we do. You are the master of all knowledge. And Father, let it not be done for our own glory. Let us actually do it, and at the end of the day, receive all the glory and honor, because you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the protector, our everything. Father, I thank you because you are a prayer answering God. And I know even for this prayer you have answered, and it's yes and amen. For it's in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, that I've prayed. Amen.
So I would request we stand for the national anthem. Kindly let us stand for the national anthem, both the Kenyan national anthem and the East African national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. Chief guest, Dr. Robert Arunga, the Chairman of Council, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Laila Abubakar, the keynote speaker, Professor Aturos and Professor Yanis, our DVC, Professor Gishangi, all our deans, chairman of departments, and delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Today we are opening our first our second multidisciplinary conference. Sorry, this conference was supposed to have been there last year, but due to COVID, we were unable to have the conference. But we are happy, and we thank God that at least this year, 2021, we are able to hold the conference. As you know, we are living in a very perilous time due to COVID pandemic, but there is hope. There is a lot of hope because we know it is only through innovative strategies and ways and research that we are going to be able to mitigate and be able to know how we'll walk these murky waters. Because we know very well that COVID might be there for a long time. And it will be just like any other disease like malaria and other diseases that have been there. So the reason why we are here today is that we can be able to share knowledge, network, and as we do that, we'll be able to come up with ideas that can be able to help us to continue with the life the way it was. Of course, it can't be the way it was earlier, but with the new normal, we must have innovative ways of how to deal with the new normal. Because now we are calling this a new normal. So mine today is very simple. I'm not going to take time, but I'll take this opportunity to welcome our Deputy Vice Chancellor, who is my boss, to be able to give an opening remark, and then she'll call the VC. Karibu.
Good morning. All protocols observed. It's a great day for all of us today as we celebrate the second multidisciplinary conference at innovation. I am particularly looking forward to tomorrow. Why tomorrow? Because we are going to see the robotic hackathon, and robotics have a special place in the discipline I practice, the discipline of medicine, because now we have embraced use of robots for a lot of our surgical procedures. A lot of telemedicine is now a reality that somebody somewhere in Asia could be operating in Nairobi or in Mombasa. And therefore, application of technology is extremely important. And as we move forward with the new norm, technology is going to be a really big piece of it's going to be a centerpiece of our activities. And therefore, celebrating innovation as a university is important. And I remember the challenges from a chairman of the council. All the time the chairman is challenging us. Are we innovating enough? Are we commercializing this innovation? Chairman, as a team, we are always constantly thinking about those challenges, and we are hoping that we will have breakthrough. And part of the things as a university we are thinking about is what you can see, that banner there, the Bay Hub, that we are thinking, how can we have this center which allows us to think about innovations in the area of blue economy. The REC, next is the director for that institute, looking at climate change and associated factors, which are important. And we have still not forgotten your challenge of how can we translate the knowledge we are generating here for the benefit of the community surrounding the university. So we constantly are aware about these challenges and thinking about how do we address them. For young researchers, yesterday I mentioned, do not be discouraged that your work is not immediately recognized. Be patient, be persistent. Your day will be coming, as the day for the messenger RNA came recently, and other individuals have had their days come. I think one of the recent days which came from a big researcher is the TB diagnostic machine, which has now revolutionized how we diagnose TB and other things. So for me, it's here to encourage all of us to be patient and be persistent, but also to open our minds. Because if you look around, there are many things you can do research on. There are different pieces of data you can gather, and sometimes that can be very informative. I know we have a lot of things lined up for today, and without too much taking time, I would like to invite our Vice Chancellor to speak to us, and then take charge of the rest of the program. Madam Vice Chancellor.
our invited guests, Chairman of the Council, who is here with us to grace this occasion, distinguished delegates all the way from Greece, Professor Yanis, who's here with us, and Professor Zavor. We need to remember the name. TUM staff and researchers, our distinguished students, postgraduate students from within, and those from our sister universities who are also here with us, all our distinguished guests and delegates, good morning. It's indeed my pleasure to welcome you all to our second multidisciplinary conference and innovation. As our registrar said, this conference was supposed to have been held last year, but because of the challenges of COVID, we were not able to have it then. But I wish to really thank the local organizing committee for working tirelessly to actualize and make this conference a reality, despite the challenges of COVID. This division of partnership, research, and innovation has been growing from strength to strength. And as we talked during this financial year, they were able to give internal funding to the tune of 2.3 million, which was to provide seed money for young researchers and staff who have an idea or have a concept, who have conceptualized an idea, and they want to start preliminary work so that they can then look for fundings from more funding from other donors. So we spent 2.3 million in this financial year for internal research. 11 proposals were actually awarded. We also have our staff and students who have attracted funding externally. We have the registrar himself, PRI, who is leading by example. And he got money from the Royal Academy of Engineering and IUC, that International University Council. We also have Dr. Munga, who got funding from WIOMSA, Dr. Mutuku from WWF and SEPI. Our student, Gladys Kimondo, was also able to attract funding from Kenya. Why am I mentioning that? The reason why I'm mentioning these names is to inform our chair and the members who are here that this division, since it was established, it has been able to inculcate research culture among our staff and students. So I really wish to applaud the division of PRI for really making all those strides and efforts towards research and innovation. Technical University of Mombasa, like all other institutions, was hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, this did not stop us from leveraging on technology and innovation to sustain our academic and research excellence in the midst of COVID-19. You know that Technical University of Mombasa, when it was called upon by the county government to help with the COVID-19 pandemic, we played our rightful role and volunteered to give our facility because the students had to leave because of COVID through the presidential directive. And we were the first people to actually have a 300-bed COVID treatment facility in this institution. Our engineering building actually was converted to become a COVID treatment center. So as a university, we took up that challenge and we were able to help our community and the county as a whole. Apart from hosting that, our researchers were able also to come up with innovations, like when there was a problem at our Likoni Ferry Crossway because of thousands of commuters who use the ferry. The ferry was going to be stopped because of the issues of COVID. The government or the county was not able to manage, and the government was almost going to stop the use of that ferry. So our medical engineering students, together with our School of Applied and Health Sciences, came up, designed the booths, aerosol booths, and also came up with the sanitizers. So that, again, was something which, as TUM, I'm proud of. We also, again, helped in contributing towards this pandemic. Again, we were having our medical engineering students and staff who are supposed to come up with prototypes, DVC area. I don't know what really happened, but funding, we gave funding through PRI so that our staff could also do some research and come up with innovations in that area. Because of the COVID, last year, November, around 25th of November, we also held a virtual multidisciplinary innovation week for our students. And our students showcased their brilliance in innovation. The young and upcoming researchers had shown their eagerness to add towards the building of our nation and make a positive mark. I urge all our researchers to commercialize their findings. All of us who are here today who are presenting, we need to commercialize our findings so that instead of being job seekers, we become job creators. With that, I want to call upon our chairman of the council to come and address you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here at this time of the Multidisciplinary Conference. And I have a lot of roles to play this morning, and therefore I hope you will not be bored. If you are bored, just raise your hands and then I'll stop. We will be discussing an area in which I'm very passionate. I've spent all my life in research. These technologies. Honorable guests, distinguished guests, University Council, who might be watching virtually. I'm sure they are. Members of the University Senate, faculty members, scientists, students, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to recognize Professor Ionis Sipuridis, and Professor Arturas Zoveras, also from Greece. You know, Greece was the first center of knowledge and philosophy. You know, the Bible was translated into Hebrew and then Greek. Am I right? I mean, that was the center of knowledge. So we are happy to have you here. And knowledge has moved to the West, up to America, and then now it's going back where it started, China. You know, most of the concepts started in China, moving towards the Mediterranean to the West. And then now it's going around the world again. We hope Africa can take its place in this movement of knowledge. And we can't do it without research, innovation, and commercialization of the same. My first duty this morning is to give some address on research, innovation, and development in general. And then that will be followed by the launch of the Multidisciplinary Journal of Technical University of Mombasa, and then followed by the opening or launch of the Center for Research in Renewable Energy and Climate Change. So I'll start by giving an overview of what we expect as a council. I'm really speaking here as the chairman of the council and on behalf of the council. The council is very much concerned and interested in providing the tools for this country to be able to have sustainable development. Because all these things we are doing will not count much if we don't translate them to economic development for the country, for our communities, and for our people in Kenya, Africa, and beyond. Now, as you know, this country has got 2 or 3 important documents which we need to be very familiar about. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you are doing research, whatever area where you're doing research, you should be mindful of the Vision 2030 document, and also Agenda 4, which covers 4 areas: affordable housing, food security, affordable health, and the last one, manufacturing, is critical. There is no country in the world which has developed without involving themselves into manufacturing. I'll do an introduction. While we would like to retain our core mandate as a university of educating the next generation and creating new knowledge, the role of academic institutions in enhancing development through knowledge and research cannot be underestimated. This notwithstanding, universities carry a grave responsibility to be catalysts for economic development through creation of new knowledge, research, innovation, incubation, entrepreneurship, and eventual commercialization of outputs emanating from these initiatives. This is especially true of our continent and region, where we have unique opportunities to influence ongoing economic growth, hence the reference to the African emerging markets. Now, Africa is the only continent where we have a lot of resources, but we rarely use most of the resources. When you talk about the mineral resources in DRC, literally those of you who have mobile telephones, you know that some of the minerals used in making some of the parts there come from DRC Congo. But you can see the confusion there. It is something we need to think about. I don't want to go into it because this is not political. Today we are not, we are just going to be technical and address what we are here for. I've already talked about Kenya Vision 2030, the agenda 4, the big 4 agenda, and the global interests in sustainable development, and they are capsulated in sustainable development goals. In fulfilling our mandate, we need to have an impact not only in university education, but also upscaling intellectual and human capital is significant for future development of our economy. There are just a few things. I mean, we have the natural resources. We have everything we need to be able to have an impact. We only need to upscale the skills of our population and also be able to discipline ourselves, be able to record what we have, and then be able to utilize it. Now, the council is very concerned because the council came up with some very specific objectives. But we are now seeing that we have almost lost 2 years as a result of the pandemic. Because we wanted to network, we wanted to go out and mobilize the resources for research and innovation, especially. But because of this thing which came early in 2020, Council was alive for only 3 years. We were only able to operate effectively maybe in the first year. We hope that this pandemic, through vaccination, which has made a great impact in the US and other places, we can quickly have vaccinations. But I'm glad, VC, you talked about some of the things which were done during the pandemic in terms of innovations. How many of these innovations have been commercialized? I have a friend who is a researcher. That is his hobby. He produced a concoction based on aloe vera. And I can assure you that concoction is effective against COVID. Because it has helped a lot of people. Now, there are many innovations outside there. You know, in our African culture, people used to do brain surgery. And in my area, people used to have medical concoctions for treatment of snake bites. I'm sure you still have them here as well. But how much of these things have been commercialized? My friend produced a concoction for treatment of COVID, and it works. He went out and approached a few of manufacturers in Nairobi to get this to be manufactured, to be made available to people. Up to now, it has not happened because our manufacturing sector is not in tune with innovative developments to be able to absorb these things quickly so that they can be made available to the market. Now, how has the vaccine for COVID come up? It has come from universities. The AstraZeneca, maybe it came from Oxford, University of Oxford. The manufacturing sector took it up very quickly, and they have been able to produce millions and millions of doses which are available. Is our manufacturing sector set well enough to take some of this knowledge which we have so that they can commercialize them very quickly? These are some of the issues we are looking at. This necessarily calls for retaining the lectures and research-based knowledge and competencies to give impetus to their teaching capabilities and enable them to cope with the millennials, and also to be able to cooperate with the manufacturing sector. When I look at the figures with regard to the manufacturing sector in this country, we are basically deindustrializing. The manufacturing sector used to contribute about 12% to our GDP. Right now, I think it is contributing 8.4% to the GDP. In other words, we are deindustrializing. Our manufacturing enterprises are going down for some reason or another. I think we have to look at this in a new way by bringing universities, research institutions, the manufacturing sector or the private sector to work together in a triple helix arrangement so that we can convert our knowledge into something which is useful for the society. We are very happy with what has gone on here during the COVID in terms of innovations and research. This is evident, really, even in online and blending learning programs prevalent here during the pandemic. It is imperative and urgent that our institutions endeavor to inculcate an entrepreneurial mindset among students. The VC has already said that our students should become employers rather than looking for employment, because one of our problems is that. I believe that one of the problems we have as a country and as Africa is that our mindset is not tuned enough to be able to gather knowledge, keep it in a way that it's easily retrievable, and then be able to use it in research and innovation. And one of our problems is industry and integrity. Now, let me talk a little about integrity. Integrity in this country, corruption is becoming a cancer. And I can assure you there's nothing which is going to develop unless we get rid of the culture of corruption. It has been responsible for the collapse of our pyrethrum industry, collapse of our coffee industry, collapse of our sugar industry, collapse of our textile industry, collapse of our cashew nut industry, I think even the collapse of the coconut industry, and collapse of a number of industries. Unless we address it in a way, we will not go very far. Because you can't have a corrupt mind and have a research mind as well. You will start cooking figures in research. In fact, research is where integrity is critical. When you start cooking figures in research in a corrupt way, you'll not go very far. And then there's sluggish economic growth, high rates of unemployment and underemployment, increasing poverty and inequalities, poor infrastructure, deteriorating environment. And what Professor Ionis says quite a bit are injustices, global injustices in exchange, and global injustices which are historical, which we need to address as Africans. And we'll be talking a bit more of that when we come to climate change and energy. Now, at the academic level and in research and development, there are global rankings of universities based on innovation, 100 most innovative universities. US has 46 universities, which can be classified as a top in terms of innovation. Germany 9, Japan 9, South Korea 8, China 5, France 5, Switzerland 3, Belgium 2, Canada 2, Israel 2, Netherlands 2, Denmark 1, Singapore 1. Greece doesn't feature, but that's okay. Africa is below ranking. It doesn't even appear in the radar. We need to address that in terms of, and it's very easy in terms of networking, cooperation, and working together with those people who have done it. And that's why it's very important, the PRI section. I'll be coming to that later on. Now, expenditure on research as a percentage of GDP, because that is a reflection. Developed countries spend about 2 to 3.5% of their GDP on research and development. Middle income countries spend 1 to not 20%, it should be 2%, 1 to 2.0%. Underdeveloped countries, and that's where most Africa comes, spend about 1%. Kenya spent 0.5% of its GDP on research. Now, at the micro level, how much does TUM, Technical University of Mombasa, spend on research? What percentage of our operational budget goes to research and development? I don't know. I've not looked at that seriously. I don't know whether you have, Prof. 0.4%. That is now at the macro level. Now, I mean, we can't go very far if we are not putting enough money on research. You can't go very far. And the Q, Commission of University Education, recommends that operational funds in a university, they should spend 2% of those funds on research and development. If we are serious with the research. I'll go very fast. Commercialization of research, I don't need to belabor this. We need effective commercialization policies. Venture capital, startup capital, incentives. We have to give incentives to our researchers to be able to innovate, to be able to do research. Provide entrepreneurial skills and change our attitudes. And the other thing which is not there is having a dynamic manufacturing sector. When I used to be in the United States, I used to have a professor who was doing work on chemicals, paints. This guy would sleep in the laboratory overnight. He was working on synthesis. And sometimes he would reach a level where he's about to add something on the side of a chemical or a molecule. And he would stay overnight doing that. And maybe he would succeed overnight. And the next day, a paint industry who had sponsored the work would come and take it up. You know how difficult paints are. To have a paint which can withstand the moisture here, consisting of salt and all those things, you need to do a lot of research on paints to be able to come up with which paint is suitable. This guy made a lot of money for the university. In fact, at this time when money from the government is not going to come, our research and our innovation is going to be very, very critical in terms of going forward in these things. We should strengthen our roles strong in networks, partnerships with manufacturing sector. But we were thinking aloud, DVC and VC, that the partnership to research innovation should really be now having, we should expand it to have a DVC. A DVC responsible for research, partnerships, innovation, and commercialization, but mainly oriented towards getting partnerships with research institutes, industry, and mobilizing funds for research within the university. This is an important area in which we don't have any choice. And then we have that branch, TUM, which should be part of this. Upgrading existing incubation hub, I hope, develop startup centers, enhance spin-offs and spin-outs, focus on commercialization through piloting schemes. Partnerships and linkage, maybe I've said that. I was telling my friends from Greece that in this country now in construction, our civil engineers are becoming redundant. You know, if you go to Nairobi, the Chinese are working on construction of roads 24 hours. They don't sleep. Those small people don't sleep. They work 24 hours. Culture of work. They work 24 hours. And our civil engineers, our architects, even building of building, you know, we are not there now. Now there's something wrong. We need to get hold of it so that our engineers can partner with these Chinese. We just have to force this as a country so that we can partner with Chinese in, they have a technology in construction and everything which we don't have, and which we don't have even in our schools. We should partner with the public sector, 6 coast counties, JKP, major projects in the coast, SGR, which is under the Chinese, a LabSet project, and major industries, KPA, shipping lines, cement, the county of Mombasa and the 6 counties, those partnerships. And I believe we have tried as a council to try and motivate the partnership department and the management so that we can partner with these people. There are new technologies I don't want to go into, you know them, robotics. I understand we'll have a demonstration. That would be interesting, printing, what do you call it? 3D printing, synthetic biology, gene editing, renewable energies, artificial intelligence, quantum mechanics, biomimetics, ICT and 5G, which is coming. I mean, some people think that is the one which has brought COVID. Well, that's far from it. That's far from it. That's far from it. We need not. Recommendations. We are giving recommendations at the national level. Promote values of scientific inquiry, integrity, justice, equity. Allocate at least 1.5. We are at 0.5. Locate. That is not CIDP, it's the GDP. GDP. It's not CIDP, to research and innovation. Increase financial allocation to universities. I think the government should increase its allocation to universities. But universities, through research and development, should be able to mobilize their own resources. And this university should allocate 2% of its operational budget to research and development. And this university should have a DVC now dealing with just that. And then we can bring them to account how much money they have brought through research and development. We are making some recommendations for the Technical University of Mombasa. I think I've mentioned most of them. But the last one, which should be a bullet, is the internal allocation. I've said 2.0% as a guideline by CUE, Commission of University Education, and then strengthen. There are only 2 universities in this country which are going to make a difference. The Technical University of Kenya, based in Nairobi, because they're combining TVET as well as academic degrees. And we have to leverage on this so that we can make a difference. Because right in the countryside, I was in the countryside, you can't even find a competent plumber. If you go to some of the hotels which have been built in the countryside, the plumbing is terrible. Things are leaking here, things are leaking there, because we don't have technical people. But this university has a unique possibility of producing academics and diplomas and certificates in the various TVET fields so that we can go forward. Incubation facilities, strengthening linkage, research to national development, and expanding partnerships. Recommendation for researchers, capacity and capability building programs, generous revenue sharing policy on IP. If you have developed something, if you have developed a sanitizer and it's gone into the market, you as the originator of the idea should be able to benefit from it on a continuous basis. Startup and venture capital for students. Rigorous training. Our students don't have training on project writing. I think capacity building in project writing, proposals, research and innovation. No, go to the next. Rigorous training in project writing, proposals, research and innovation, and attachments and apprenticeships in some of the key companies and private sector organizations which you have. We should have that. Director of the new center was telling me that is going to, research is not going just to start. It has to start when you already have a private sector you can work with and who are prepared to put money in that. Access to startup and venture capitals. I hope I've not gone beyond time. In conclusion, we need to promote appropriate policies, increased research innovation, forging unique partnerships, appropriate policies on intellectual property, improving capabilities and capacities, accepting TUM's unique role and acting as a technical university model for Kenya, involving academia and TVET facilities. Hope I've not taken too much time, but I'm very passionate in this area. I hope this passion, which is also in the council, can percolate to the university management and percolate right down to the students. May God bless you as you continue with this very important mission. I hope I continue. And I said, if you feel bored, just raise your hand. I think we should be happy that we can be here at this time of pandemic. And I was hoping that the whole council would have been here, but because of the restrictions which have been brought about, we needed to thank God for making it possible for us to be here. I can go on? Yes, go on. Can I go with the journal first? A clip. Then I come in.
The journal.
A student or an expert passionate about research and is looking for a safe space for learning and publication? Technical University of Mombasa is officially launching an open access journal for peer-reviewed articles ought to be published biannually. The journal shall entail research in marine, medicine, IT, engineering, and many more. Join us on 24th June 2021 as we inaugurate the Multidisciplinary Journal of TUM at the School of Medicine building. For more information, visit our website at journals.tum.ac.ke or call 254-4124-92-222.
Thank you again, and all protocols observed. This is a very interesting area for me. You know, as I said, this concept of documentation is lacking in all our research endeavors. You know, we Africans were used to oral culture. In fact, the reason why we have lost a lot of our technologies is that we pass all our knowledge orally to next of kin, or to a brother, or to a wife. And nothing is recorded down. And now we are getting to the area which is so critical to what we have been talking about. Today marks a great milestone for Technical University of Mombasa, a technical university of global excellence in advancing knowledge, science, and technology. TUM has for a long period of time been very active in research and innovation. With this growing technological and scientific output, TUM has established an open access multidisciplinary journal of Technical University of Mombasa as a platform for recording, disseminating research output to reach a wider local and international community. The origin of these journals dates back to the first ever TUM Multidisciplinary Innovation and Conference Week held in April 2019. I think Professor Ionis was there, I was there, and all of us were there. I think that was the beginning, you know. That was after how many years of TUM's existence? Maybe quite a number of years. But this was a good beginning in 2019, April, where several scientific papers were presented and therefore needed to be disseminated to a wider leadership in scientific communities. Ladies and gentlemen, so as to promote the culture of research and scientific writing, and at the same time increase the visibility and the ranking of TUM as a center of global excellence, the Office of the Registrar Partnership, Research and Innovation, anchored in the Office of DVC ARE, with the technical support from TUM Library, so the establishment of multidisciplinary journal, Technical University of Mombasa as a paramount and of importance. Being a peer-reviewed journal, it will instill publishing ethics by discouraging researchers and academics from TUM and elsewhere to publish research findings in the ever-growing number of predatory journals. This is a major undertaking. A number of people, a number of universities have started these journals. And if they're not being fed with research results, the frequency of the journal starts suffering. And therefore, we need to expand our research quite much. Ladies and gentlemen, the realization of multidisciplinary journal of Technical University of Mombasa has been a long-awaited dream that has finally come true. This journal will no doubt motivate and inculcate the art of writing and publishing to both inexperienced and experienced writers working under mentors. The journal aims to publish original research papers of high quality standard and encourage multidisciplinary contributions and offer a forum for academics and researchers to showcase research, process, and methodology. This is central to the goal of promoting knowledge, science, and technology. And when I was going through the papers, which are going to be presented at the conference, I saw a number of other universities have presented papers. A number of national research institutions like Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. I even saw, I think, a paper which was published with the cooperation with the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, which was an institution I established. If we organize ourselves in this, in a PRI, we can get a lot of papers from all over. And then it can also increase our networking with other universities. It is important that we have a serious networking, not only locally, but also globally. Ladies and gentlemen, the journal features substantive articles, research work, review essays, and book reviews that combines the study of systems, methodologies, investigations, traversing multidisciplinary fields of science and technology, engineering, and mathematics, and other scholarly disciplines, as well as the related social sciences and humanities. The journal provides an avenue for the wide dissemination of high-quality multidisciplinary research accessible to all researchers in academia, research institutions, and even industry. Industry should also be able to innovate and also publish their innovations. Ladies and gentlemen, the journal has already made some milestones. These include a dedicated multidisciplinary team of editorial board members comprising of experienced staff, both from within and outside TUM. The selection of more members to serve in the editorial board is an ongoing process with the ultimate aim of making the board to have an international composition. I used to be in the editorial board of Tropical Science, which was published from London by the Tropical Products Institute. I was on the board for almost 12 years, and our role was really to clear some of the publications which were going into that journal. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. Finally, the journal has just acquired its international standard serial number. You will be getting that, making it ready to compete in the publishing internationally, thereby making Technical University of Mombasa more visible and definitely increased global ranking. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, may I today officially, on behalf of the council and on behalf of the university management, launch the Multidisciplinary Journal of Technical University of Mombasa and take these opportunities to challenge all postgraduate students. I was told that there are about 96 postgraduate students, academicians, researchers, to publish their research articles in the forthcoming issue already underway. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana, and may God bless you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the editorial board. The editorial board, if you're here, maybe you can stand so that we recognize you. I mean, it's a great honor to be in the editorial board, the first editorial board of the University Council. Professor Peter Gichangi, DVC, ARE. Dr. Michael Juma Saulo, Registrar, Partnership, Research and Innovation. Dr. Cosmas Munga, Chief Editor. Dr. Wanyenda Chilimo. Dr. Damaris Monari. Dr. Victor Lucili. Dr. Karen Osire. Dr. Kennedy Ondimu. Dr. Anwar Wood, I think from Kwale. Dr. Mike Casio. I don't know whether it's from Karachuoyo. Professor Margaret Kereka. I hope we are gender sensitive. I mean, in the conversation. Yeah, but Dr. Margaret Kereka, is she here? Okay. Professor Joanna Gronovelt. Okay. Professor Antonio Ogwane, external. Dr. Stephen Odera, external. No, she's here. So let's clap for them again. Thank you very much. We expect you to do a good job, and you might not be rewarded now, but in terms of the self-actualization, you will be rewarded, and you'll be remembered as the first people who put up this journal. Yeah. So the chief editor, Dr. Cosmas Munga, to say a few words before we go to the next level again.
Good morning. I was not expecting this session, but all protocols observed. My name is Dr. Cosmas Munga, Chairman, Department of Environment and Health Sciences. I come from the School of Applied and Health Sciences. My background, I trained as a fisherman, a degree in fisheries from Moi University, and with a master's in marine ecological management from Belgium, and a PhD in marine sciences from Belgium. I've been a scientist before joining TUM. I worked with Kenya Marine Fisheries Research Institute for almost 10 years before joining the university. What I can share with you, writing, nobody will teach you how to write. Nobody will teach how to publish. What I can tell you is you start writing to be a good writer. So I challenge you all, when I was given this opportunity to be the chief editor, I asked a few questions to Dr. Saulo, and he told me I could do it. And I'm trying, but I need your support. So let us work together to increase the visibility of this university. And I'm sure in the next 5 or 10 years, TUM will be at a better place, rank in other universities like University of Nairobi and the rest. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy that finally the baby has been born, which is now the Multidisciplinary Journal of Technical University of Mombasa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again. Thank you, Chief Editor. We now go to a very important function of launching the Renewable Energy and Climate Change Research Center, REREC in short. REC. It's just like REC in Safari Rally, which is coming back to Kenya after 19 years. I said that when I was making my speech, I said that we have a number of resources which we are not using. And one of them is, which has been worrying me and which we need to be in the front of. We need to be in the forefront of, say, solar energy. In fact, Kenya and Africa needs to be the leaders in the area of solar energy because we have it in plenty. But there are a lot of things. We also need to focus on the blue economy because of where we are. And we also need to focus on a number of areas. Climate change, because we are suffering from climate change, which is affecting the global environment in a number of ways, but especially in the increase in temperatures and erratic rainfall patterns. For example, it is estimated that between 2000 and 2050, temperatures in Kenya will rise by 2.5 degrees centigrade. Increase in temperatures and erratic rainfall, which include drought and flooding, will inevitably adversely affect food security, agriculture, tourism, water security, ecosystems, and infrastructure. On the other hand, energy consumption profile in Kenya shows that we have three main areas of utilization of energy. The first one is wood and charcoal. How many people here use wood and charcoal in their home? Literally everybody. And everybody in the countryside. So in Kenya, we are using about 68%. I mean, as a source of energy, we are using 68% of total energy consumption comes from wood and charcoal. And of the total energy consumption, 9% or 22% comes from electricity, and 9% come, 22% come from petroleum, which we use in power generation and also in our vehicles, in border and all those things. And then 9% come from electricity, and the rest come from other sources. Now, it is estimated that our forest cover about just a few years ago was calculated to be 12% of the total area of Kenya. Just a few years ago. And now it is estimated that the total forest cover is just 2%. From 12%, a few years back, to now 2%. And the objects or the aim of the government is that we should reverse this and go back to 10 or 15% as recommended by the global leaders. The deterioration in forest cover has resulted in land degradation and also reinforced climate change. Meanwhile, the country is endowed with a number of renewable energy sources in abundance, including solar, wind, biomass, which is waste, not trees as such, not to mention hydro, marine. In fact, now it is possible to generate electricity from tidal waves. And geothermal energies, where we are well endowed, throughout the area surrounding the Rift Valley. We live in a world that climate change affects all of us, but it affects us differently. In the developed countries, there is very little effect. In the developing countries, we are affected much more by climate change. And yet, it is the developed countries which produce greenhouse gases, which are responsible for global warming. Referred to, and I had mentioned this before, as climate injustice. Africa seems to be suffering from so many injustices. We need reparations for slavery. We need reparations for exploitation of our resources. Maybe we also now need reparation for climate injustice. And I think there have been some moves for carbon being paid for growing trees, being paid for increasing the forest cultures. And I think around all these injustices, we should be able to rise through having research and innovation in this area. In the fast-moving, fast-changing, transforming 5G competitive environment of the third decade of the new millennia, the power of unity, partnerships, research cannot be underestimated. The center which is being proposed and which I believe is already there is a model of international cooperation in research in critical areas of climate change and energy. May I take this opportunity to officially launch this center, which the Council hopes will take the lead in national, global education, research, innovation, and commercialization of climate change and renewable energy technologies. And I think the first director of this is Dr. Ionis. Thank you very much for being here. And I would like to thank all of you for being here in this historic event where we are launching this center to help us in mitigating climate change and our energy problems. Thank you very much, asanteni sana, and may God bless you. Maybe we'll have Dr. Ionis say a few words as the director of this particular center. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here again. I have a small presentation which will run very quickly. It will build on yesterday's long presentation. But yesterday, it was the base of why we need the center. So I won't go through that. I wish the chairman was here yesterday so he could see the reasoning. But there are so many things that could make that center a need that has to be a reality. So, these things you know really. The center will be based and will be run by the values of the university itself. The Big Four agenda actually, with the exception of affordable housing, which I can't see how we can enter into that, the rest three, the research center is capable of doing something. And I also promise, taking this opportunity, we're going to flood your first journal, my friend. I hope the research center will be able to produce enough papers for the first journal of the multidisciplinary. For me, it's really a great honor, and I'm really humbled and extremely happy to be given this opportunity to have the center, to direct the center. The center has to be based on science, and science has to be respected. Anything that comes out of science is what we can trust and we follow, and this is very important. For every percentage of GDP spent on research, you really have to think how many scientists work on adding one atom to a molecule and how many succeeded there. So there is a high degree of failure as well. We have to really concentrate and target our research and be able to produce the results that are really needed. And what this research center will do in the beginning is to target projects funded by the European Union and other funding sources in order to be able to produce the results needed, the results that will add value to the community and to the economy. And one of the major things I'm already working on that now is to sponsor PhDs from the private sector, because collaboration with the private sector with the end result of commercialization of the research product is very important. It won't happen every time, but it can happen sometimes, and that will create value. And that will create value and recognition and visibility for the center. So that's very important. We will definitely do it. As I told you in private, we're already working towards that. Africa, like most countries, has abundance of renewable energy sources. This is the beauty of renewable energy sources. Every country has them. So there's no need to have a war like you do with oil, gas, and coal. So we have to utilize these resources in this country like any other country. So you're one of the first countries in the world in geothermal energy. You can be also in solar energy. But the thing is, the exploitation, the utilization of the resources should add value to the economy. It should not only be done by foreign companies coming in and using that and taking the revenues out. So this is something we have to work on. We have to really reach out to the community. We have to really try to do our best. Can you move on this as well, please? Let's go to the areas. Hello? The slides, next slide. Let's go to the areas. You know the vision and the mission. Let's go on. Okay. These are the areas we will target. Okay? Nation and region-wide issues of the energy, water, food, health, and sanitation nexus is very important. We had a couple of projects from the Horizon call. Adaptation of renewable technologies to local conditions and needs, to take advantages of the abundance of renewable resources. Investigation of science-based adaptation, mitigation, and building resilient solutions. Climate-induced displacement and migration. This is very important. We have to concentrate on that too. Circular economy, which is really one of the bases for the future, and that's the project we're going to see now is a project that's based on circular economy, because it's using the waste from the university itself. Industrial and commercial innovations. This, we have to really target that. Blue economy should be there too. Next one. Energy, environment, and climate policy and regulatory issues. We have to really target that too. Clean energy transition-related research. Climate science-related research, social and gender inequalities. The editorial board has only 3 ladies. That has to change. The chairman was correct on that. Education challenges and inequalities in rural areas, and identification, study, and analysis of problems, challenges, and characteristics specific to sub-Saharan Africa. I know I don't have time, so I don't want to take any more of that, because I'm being pressed by my brother Michael Saulu there, and the Chancellor mentioned that as well. So I will thank you once again. I hope I'm going to be stationed in Mombasa from now on, so I hope we'll meet each and every one of you and collaborate and cooperate and produce results for the good of the university and of the country. Thank you very much. And one final word. I thank all of you, of course, but I want to thank my friend, Professor Zervos, who is the chairman of REN21, which is a global organization network on renewables, who came here to honor the university, the center, and myself, and I'm very proud to have such good friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. We are sorry that we are a bit late, so now we are going to have a health break. And when we are having a health break, I'll require the deans and the directors that are here. We are walking to the kitchen where we are going to cut the tape to open officially the Renewable Energy and Climate Change Center. So as others are taking tea, the deans, the directors will be going down to the kitchen just to cut a tape and come back to take tea. Thank you very much. Please ensure that we are back by 11:30 so that we continue with the Professor Zavos will be presenting at 11:30. Thank you.